Are you all able to see me and hear me? Just write a text there. Can you see me, please? Am I audible to everyone? Okay, yes, I can see the messages coming in. Good morning to all. Yes, Raja, good morning. Sohan, Vishnu, Sarthak, audible and visible, Ruhi says. We can see you and hear you too. Great. So, good morning to you, all of you, and welcome to the session. This is a session we're going to have. We're going to talk a little about one particular function of the Reserve Bank. Now, as you all know, you guys are studying for the exam and you have been reading a lot of material, and you know that there are various functions of the Reserve Bank as a central bank. So, shall we begin then? Prakash, yes, sir. Vishnu, everything is okay. So then I think you can see my first slide, which is about the RBI's main office, which we call as the Central Office Building, NCOB, the new Central Office Building. This is your dream ivory tower, guys. So if you're through and you're posted to Bombay and in policy making, this is the building you're going to be sitting at. Now, as I said, we have various functions of the Reserve Bank, and today's focus will be on one particular function. And as you can see from the slide in the introduction, what I'm trying to tell you is that we are going to get an overview of the dynamics of the currency management function of the Reserve Bank of India. So you will be able to familiarize yourself with what is the role of Reserve Bank and what is the role of RBI in this currency management area. You will also learn some features, some security features about the Indian currency notes. You'll be able to identify features of banknotes, and there will be some points which are, as I call them, browning points that you can be privy to and use them to your advantage, either while you're writing or while you're preparing for the interview. So there is a question. I will keep seeing your questions simultaneously as you keep writing. Danish Gori says, if a person suffered from red-green color blindness, that's color blindness, so he is eligible or not? Please reply, sir. Eligible for appearing in RBI exam? Are you saying that? If that is the case, normally what happens is that once you are selected, irrespective of your handicaps, once you're selected, you will have to undergo a medical test. And before you join, so before you join, the medical test would indicate what kind of problems you may be suffering from. You could be diabetic, you could be having color blindness, as you say. With that, the bank's medical officer would decide the level of how much it can impact your working in the bank and give a report to the bank. So at this stage, this is all I can tell you, Danish. Sir, can we know little about your career in RBI? Okay, I joined the Reserve Bank as the Director to Grade B officer in 1984. I'm an 84 batch DR, and I retired in 2016 as the Executive Director of National Housing Bank, which was then a 100% subsidiary of the Reserve Bank. So I was the regional director in RBI Chhattisgarh, which is in Raipur. So I was heading the office there. And then on deputation, I came as executive director to the National Housing Bank, and then I retired in September 2016. So in a long career of 32 years, I worked in various departments of the bank. It is the issue department, currency management, foreign exchange, rural planning, personnel, administration, HRMD, faculty, urban banks department, and so on and so forth. So there were various departments that you get an exposure to. Some cases the exposure is for long periods of time. It could be 5 years, as I was in foreign exchange for nice 5 long years, or you could be in UBD. I was in urban banks department only for a period of 8 to 9 months. So it depends on your posting and the vacancies that are there. During the course of my stint in RBI, I worked in centers. I started with Guwahati, then I went to Ahmedabad. From Ahmedabad, I went to Calcutta. From Calcutta, I came to Delhi. Delhi, I went to Mumbai. Mumbai, I went to Raipur. Raipur, I came back to Delhi. So this is the kind of territory that I have covered. There are guys who would, if they are very lucky, they could be in Bombay for a long period of time. Yes, Bombay is one center where you spend a lot of time. So if you go to Bombay, you could be there for a nice 10 years. How was the selection procedure different from that of today in RBI? You see, in our days, it was very different in the sense we didn't have this online business, and we didn't have these multiple choice questions either, or a quant or reasoning. So we had one paper on social and economic problems. So there would be 10 questions, 5 on social and 5 on economic questions. And there you had to write any 5 essay type questions on that. And then you had the English paper, which was very similar to what you have today. You had essay writing, you had essay writing. And then based on this, if you qualify for written test, you will be called for the interview. If you clear the interview, you would be in. But even in those days, let me tell you, it was tough to get into RBI. Work-life balance in RBI. I think if you go to start talking about RBI, then we will not be able to continue with the class, which is for about an hour or so. So I would say that can we start the class first and then see your questions? So today's session is on the functions of Reserve Bank as an issuer of currency. That is one of the core functions of RBI and a major function of RBI. As far as the common man is concerned, the first introduction, he is not bothered about monetary policy. The common man on the road, he couldn't care less about what's going to happen to the interest rates, or what is bank supervision and mergers and all the kind. He is concerned about money, cash, availability, clean notes, dirty notes, torn notes, new notes. So these are the concerns. So as you can see, RBI is the sole authority to issue currency. And it is mandated, it's the responsibility of the Reserve Bank to ensure, please note the words, to ensuring adequate, each word is important here, ensuring adequate supply of clean and genuine notes. But this is a very big responsibility. It is not just managing currency, but managing currency to ensure that the public gets adequate. What is adequate? We do hear shortages about, off and on. We say there's shortage of 10 rupee notes, or the 100 rupee note is not available. There are no coins in the market. Coins are not available. People are giving you sweets in exchange of coins. What does that mean? Then, there are moments, there are times when the adequate supply is not there. There are various factors to that. Everything is not within RBI's hands, because it is a big chain, that we work in, and external factors are also there which impact the distribution and supply of notes. So adequate supply, yes, people should get what they want. The ATM should be having notes to dispense. When you go to a shopkeeper, he's able to give you change, and notes should be clean. There was a time we followed a clean note policy, which has been diluted somewhat. We changed the parameters. Earlier, it was very, very strict. Any kind of writing on the note would be rejected by the machines. They would not accept. Tolerance levels were zero for these things. But today we find that, because post demonetization, we had to pump in a lot of notes. Now, so we have changed some parameters there, and notes are still clean. By and large, our notes, which used to be so very dirty at one point of time, you didn't feel like touching them. Today, the notes are relatively clean and genuine. Genuine because there is a whole parallel fake market supply in the market in our country. It's an organized supply. It's not fly by the night operator. There are two kinds of fake notes that you will find. Notes which are made by some roadside fly by night operator who has little machines with him. He makes a very very crude version which even a common man can make out very easily by and large. But the real challenge comes from fake notes which are coming from an organized sector, and these notes they look so genuine to the common man. It's only a specialist, a banker perhaps, can make out, or unless you're familiar with the features of the notes, that this is a fake or a genuine note. Now, all this, it's a statutory power that the Reserve Bank derives from the RBI Act of 1934. So that is where the power to manage currency comes from. So this is basically for RBI. This session is essentially for candidates appearing for the RBI Grade B exam, or even those who are appearing for the assistant exam. Okay, so now as I say, RBI is the sole authority, so nobody else can issue currency notes. Now, when we say currency, what do we mean by currency? Currency means both notes as also coins. Put together is currency. Now, if you notice, I'm using the word banknotes. Why am I saying banknotes and I'm not saying currency notes? All of us say currency notes. In a common parlance, we do not use the word banknotes. We say currency notes or just notes. So we'll come to this question later. Why am I calling it banknotes? So now the banknotes, the currency includes both banknotes and coins. And mind you, the government of India has a prerogative to issue coins, not the RBI. Please remember this distinction. RBI, yes, it manages currency. It manages both notes and coins. But it prints notes, and it distributes notes and coins. But it's the government of India. When it comes to coins, it is the prerogative of the government of India. So what is the role of RBI then? RBI is acting as an agent of the central government. RBI is only acting on behalf of the government of India to push the coins, distribute the coins in the market, and ensures that it is available to adequate supply is available to public. RBI also places the indent for both notes and coins on behalf of the government. RBI does the assessment for the government. Therefore, coins are an asset for RBI. In the balance sheet of RBI, you will find that the coins come on the asset side because they are government's liability. It's the government which is the owner of the coins. RBI's liability is only for the notes. Now let's talk of a little bit on the notes. I've done the coin portion with you. So the coins, as I said, we if you see the slide, I didn't touch that point. Withdraws and remits to the government. So it is also the responsibility of the RBI to ensure that these coins are withdrawn from the market, withdrawn from the banks, and remitted back to the government treasuries. In this context, you will recall when the coins were put out of circulation, small denomination coins, 5 paisa, 10 paisa, 25 paisa, all these coins, 50 paisa, up to these coins we had There are no more legal tenders. So it was the responsibility, it was only a direction from the government. It is the responsibility of the RBI to see that these coins are withdrawn from the market via banks and brought back to the government, RBI, or and sent to the government, but whichever way it would be. So RBI can issue notes in any denomination up to rupees 10,000. Obviously, the notes, when I say RBI can issue, whenever we say RBI is doing this, please understand that RBI is in sync with the government. So RBI will propose, RBI will get its board's approval that we wish to introduce a X denomination note. So the process takes place within RBI, and then it goes to the government, it goes to the finance minister for approval. So the denomination can be, you see, we had 1,000 at one point of time, which is not there anymore. We didn't have a 2,000 rupee note. Today we have a 2,000 rupee note. We have a 200 rupee note, which was not there earlier. So all these decisions, are, RBI can take in consultation with the government. Now, as you all know, and I do hope it's a very common thing, the Indian currency is known world over as INR. Why do we say INR? Indian rupee. Because rupee is also there in Pakistan as its currency. You also have a rupiah in Indonesia, and you have a rupee in Nepal. So we are INR. Now, during the course of our experience, we realized that the average cycle of you may have noticed that today we don't see a 1 rupee note, we don't see a 2 rupee note, we rarely see a 5 rupee note. 10 rupee notes, yes. Now, why? Because RBI realized at some point after a study that the average cycle of this 1 rupee, 2 rupee, 5 rupee in particular was very little. So the cost and the effort put in, it was not very viable. The costing was not commensurate with the lifespan. So I'm spending so much of manpower, so much of costing, paper, and then the note gets soiled. It's not being used by the public. It's coming back to the bank, and it was in bulk. 1 rupee, 2 rupee, 5 rupee. In terms of volume, it was very large. So it was decided that let there be coinization. So the question is, why do you find today, if somebody were to ask you this question, why don't we see a 2 rupee, 1 rupee note? Yes, for these reasons. They were not economical to have them around. The lifespan being short and the costing being more, it was not commensurate with the lifespan. Therefore, if you have a coin's life is much, much longer. Obviously, it's metal. At the same time, coins are not very popular with people. They don't like to carry weight. So it's a kind of a conflict. You have public wants paper currency, and we find that paper currency for smaller denominations may not be the best thing. Also, if you've noticed, 1 rupee, 1 rupee is a coin. Please remember, 1 rupee note is issued not by RBI. All notes are issued by RBI except the 1 rupee note, which does not have a promissory clause like all of the notes have, which does not bear the signature of the Governor of Reserve Bank. Instead, a 1 rupee, when it was there and if it is there, it will have the finance secretary's signature, because, as I said, the coins are issued by the government, and a 1 rupee note on paper is essentially a paper note of 1 rupee is essentially a coin in paper. So it continues to be a coin, but in paper form, and therefore it belongs to the government and not the RBI, and therefore you don't have the governor's signatures, you have the finance secretary's signatures. Please remember this. Now the question is, when I told you in the second slide, I did say that adequate supply. We were talking of adequate supply, and here is the reason with adequate supply. How do we assess that? The annual requirement is made by RBI. RBI has to assess how many coins, how many notes we need for the next year. and for the next year. So the projections that are made by RBI, they're based on incremental replacement and the reserve stock. Apart from these three things, it also has to take into account, what we could say the economy, the shape of economy, the size of economy, the demand, the inflation. All these things are factored in, and through a model that we have, they project what could be the demand. The demand forecasting is done as to what is the requirement. We also ask the banks, for example, the banks are asked to let us know how much, and this is denomination wise, and this is consolidated by the Reserve Bank. It's a big, big exercise. Arun Negi, what do you want me to repeat? And it's not very clear. Can you repeat, sir? What do you want me to repeat, please? Okay. So till Arun comes back, I will go further. Now let's do some shop talk. RBI is the policy body for taking decisions on the note design. Now you notice that we have different series, different designs. At one point of time, we used to have the Ashoka pillar series. Before the Mahatma Gandhi series came into being, it was called the Ashoka pillar series. So then we brought in the Mahatma. Today, what is in vogue is the Mahatma Gandhi series. Then the note design. Now, world over, central banks normally tend to change their designs and their features in a cycle of about 7 to 8 years. And why do they do so? For the simple reason that there are, as we discussed counterfeiting in the beginning, so counterfeiting is a problem world over. It's not just confined to India, and therefore they have to stay ahead of the counterfeiters. By the time the counterfeiters copy the designs in all the intricacies of the design, a central bank is smart enough to come up with a new design so that it will take them more time to rework, and they are a step ahead of the counterfeiters. That is the idea why central banks change their note designs. So how do you design a note? It's also a big exercise. You have committees, you have government representatives, you have RBI people, you have people from various fora and also from different organizations sit together, brainstorm, work it out, and designs are obviously RBI cannot decide on its own. These designs are sent to the government. The government gives us approval that this is the design you should have for the next series. So as you can find today, in our 500 rupee note, you have a red fort. It was not there earlier. You have Ellora images on a 200 rupee note. It was not there earlier. So we keep changing these images. There's sometimes a theme. So you can see a theme in some of the old notes. You will find agriculture as a theme, where you have a tractor or you have people sowing paddy. That was one. Agriculture was a theme. There's an industrial theme where you will find oil rigs, and you have these space missions. And today, in today's notes, what theme do you see? Please have a look at the notes and you can make out the theme. Now, RBI's role is in distribution. So we see that all banks, and through the banks, the public, all of them get the notes are distributed, available to them. And also we withdraw the notes back. So whatever notes are unfit, they will flow back through the banking channel. All this is through the banking channel only. So we push the notes out through the banks and we bring them back to the banks. And to help us out here, as you're aware, RBI has regional offices in every state. And most of these regional offices, when I say most, I mean the newer offices in smaller states do not have a currency issue department. So the regional offices discharge this function through the issue department. So issue department is there in, they have big vaults there in them. They store fresh notes, they have soil notes, they have reusable notes, they have coins, vaults. So the RBI regional office gets its places indent with the central office. The central office places indent with the presses. When the notes come, they are sent to the respective regional offices as per their demand. And then once the demand is met, the regional offices start sending these notes, remittances as we call them, to various currency chests. Now, currency chests, there are more than 4,000 currency chests all over the country, and currency chests are not owned by RBI in the sense they are run by the commercial banks but maintained on behalf of the RBI. So long as the money is there in the currency chest, it is RBI's money, and once the cash is out, it is the liability of the concerned bank who is owning the currency chest. So currency chest, you can say it's like a hub and spoke model where you have, say, a big currency chest which will then feed to smaller chests, and smaller chests will in turn feed to maybe treasuries, or it will go from the hub itself. Similarly, so they distribute, and on the way back, they ensure that the soiled and mutilated notes are remitted back. They flow back to RBI, which can then be, they flow back to actually the banks themselves. They are supposed to sort out the notes, destroy the old notes which are dirty, which are not usable, and send the remaining notes which they think can be reused to RBI. And lastly, RBI note refund rules. Note refund rules by RBI are also managed by the issue departments. What are note refund rules? Basically, depending on the kind of damage that has happened to a note, sometimes the note is torn from a corner and people refuse to take it. If the shopkeepers say, no, this number is torn, I will not accept it. Somebody's pasted some tape on it, or it's smudged and you cannot see the number. So these are notes which are otherwise okay. So what happens is you can take these notes to the banks, and they have certain set of rules issued by RBI. They can give you full value of the note. They can give you 50% of the value of the note, depending on how much damage has been caused to the note. Now I'm talking of the security. Let's talk a little about the security features of the notes. First and foremost is the color changing security thread. If you notice, you give a note to any shopkeeper, and the first thing he does is he takes the note and he tends to do like this. I don't think he knows what he is doing, but he feels very secure that yes, I've done this bit of shaking and my note that I'm taking is genuine. You ask any person, what have you seen? He'll say, no, we've been told to do this. Yes, very right. So what does he see? What he should be seeing is that the color changing security thread, when I'm tilting the thread, it will change its color from green to blue. Then there is the portrait of Mahatma Gandhi in the watermark window. What we'll do is, let's go to the note itself. Let's have a look at the note. I've taken a 500 rupee note and from here we'll see both the obverse and the reverse side. So the security features are there on the obverse side of the note, and the general features you'll find on the reverse side of the note. Now please follow these lines. For example, let's begin with this yellow line that you see. This is what we call as a see-through register, which has a 500 rupee note, 500 figure on it, which you cannot see normally. So here, this yellow line, please, if you are holding a note, or you can do it later, there will be a see-through register here with the denomination numeral 500 written on it. This is one feature. These are what we call as features which cannot be generally seen. You will have to make a little effort to see. But the second one is this Devanagari. That rupee 500 is written in Devanagari. This is obvious. Anybody can see this. Then you have obviously the portrait of Mahatma Gandhi in the center. And that is why these notes are called the Mahatma Gandhi series. Earlier there used to be an Ashoka pillar here. Now, portrait, why it was replaced, the pillar with the face? I think if you look around and see the notes from most countries, there's always a portrait, because when it comes to forgery and forging a note, this is the most difficult part. There are fine lines drawn, and the face has a certain expression. So Gandhiji seems to be having a smile, and a look is at a particular angle. These things are not very easy to copy when you are counterfeiting notes. A human face is very difficult to copy in a forged note. So this is why a portrait is there. You also will find a portrait here. I'll come to that later. Let's go to the next, which is the micro lettering, RBI Bharat 500. Now this is the thread that I was talking about, and on this thread there is micro lettering which says Bharat RBI. And this is what we call as the thread which changes color. So on the face of it, it is green in color. And do you notice that the thread is broken? It may not even appear like a thread right now. If you take a 10 rupee note, you will find a straight silver line. The thread is very straight and simple. 10 rupee, nobody is going to make an effort to forge. It's too much of an effort, not worth it. So people normally, so the security features are there in high denomination. High denomination means 100, 500, 200 and 2000. Now here this thread is windowed security thread, we call it. Windowed meaning this is actually woven into the substrate when the note is being made. So it appears, it starts from here, it appears here, then disappears inside the paper, comes out. So it goes like this, woven into the substrate, the paper on which the note is printed. Then this is the circle that I've written. The green circle is the guarantee clause of the governor, right? And then here, this 500 that you see, this is also what in the previous slide we talked of OBI, the optically variable ink, which changes color again from green to blue. The ink OBI can be changing its color in various shades for different countries. For India, it is it's a kind of a understanding. We have when we buy that we want, this is typical for India and this will not be used anywhere else. Other countries have pink to red. It could be orange to red, whatever. So this is the OBI on the 500 rupee note. It's an expensive ink, and it will, as you see right now, it's 500 is green color, but at an angle it will be blue. Then you also, in this, here you have again a watermark of Mahatma Gandhi. Portrait of Mahatma Gandhi in the watermark window, and it's an electrotype kind of a watermark. Electrotype watermark meaning that it kind of creates a strong contrast in light with surface, essentially. So when you see it against light, you can see the outline of the watermark and the face of Mahatma Gandhi smiling at you. And then there is lastly this number panel here. Do you notice this number panel here? This number panel has numbers from small to big. Earlier in, before demonetization, and even this number panel used to be here and here on two ends. So when you change your features, now you have here and at the bottom here. And instead of simple straight numerals, you have small to big. In some countries, you will find them from big to small, zooming in, zooming out. And you have, this is a feature for the visually impaired. It's there is intaglio printing. Intaglio printing is, uh, I would suggest that all of you, after this class is over, if you're interested in the features of the notes, there is a small film of about 7 minutes, or even no, maybe 3 minutes or 4 minutes, called Paisa Bolta Hai, made by RBI. Of course, many of the notes now, it's an old film, therefore the 500 rupee note has changed, the colors have changed, the features may have changed, but basic things are there. What is intaglio printing? When you buy, for example, you take a sari border, a zari sari border, and you close your eyes and just feel the border, you can feel the embossed kind of, raised print, weave. Similarly, we use the intaglio printing in a note. Now, having said this, this we have discussed, all the features are out of the bag. I will go to the reverse side of this note. Here we are having merely the features, and these features are, there's a year of printing. Here you will find the red line will indicate to you the year of printing of the note. This is normally missing in a forged note actually. It's a small numeral here which gives you the year, and it also has this is a normal feature now, a Swachh Bharat feature. The logo of the Swachh Bharat is there, and this is the language panel in which we have languages in major languages of India form a part of this panel. Then you have the image of the red fort here. This is, and then you have the rupee 500 written in Devanagari and in Rotary. So these are the basic features and security features of a currency note. Next is money versus, what is this here? Can anyone see this and understand what am I trying to say? Money is an app developed by RBI. Mobile aided note identifier. You see, we have to be very caring as a central bank. RBI also has a conscience as a soul. So we must take into account that we have a large number of population who are visually impaired, and their needs and their requests are also factored in when a note is designed. For example, the visually blind, I mean, when we say visually blind, it means they're not totally blind. It could be totally 100% you have loss of vision, or you have a partial loss of vision, or you may be color blind, as somebody says, who's not able to distinguish between red and green. So, keeping their needs in mind, we have RBI had this feature, a dot which was raised, and they could, with their eyes closed, they could feel it and identify the note. That was one way earlier, before this app came into picture. And the other was that they had an idea about the size of the notes, those old notes. So they would close their eyes and just go to the length and width, and they were able to make out what is the denomination of the note. Therefore, there was sometimes a lot of pressure when you want to change the size of the notes. It's not easy because then a whole set of people are used to a certain size. So there's always a trade-off between the social cost and the financial cost or security cost. That call you have to take. So now this recently, very recently, this year, it has come up with this money, the mobile aided note identifier. It's an Android app, and it can identify the denomination of Mahatma Gandhi series. Please understand, not old notes, not Ashokan Pillar series. Mahatma Gandhi notes and it can check the front and the reverse side of the note, find out whether the note is genuine or not, give the person, let him know what is the denomination of the note. So it uses an audio notification in Hindi, English, and non-sonic modes such as vibration, and you can navigate through voice control. So it's an amazing app and a great help to our visually challenged people. It's free and can be downloaded easily, so I would suggest at least download and have a feel of what the app is like. But it will not tell you whether the note is genuine or counterfeit. That feature it does not have, and it does not require internet and works offline. So this is money, a jewel in RBI's crown. Now, quickly, I'll go through a couple of things which you should know, which I said at the brownie points that I was talking about. Where are the notes printed? There are 4 printing presses that we have. 2 are owned by the Government of India and 2 are owned by RBI. So the one at Mysore and Salboni, BRBNMPL, the Bharatiya Reserve Bank Note Mudran Private Limited, BRBNMPL, Bharatiya Reserve Bank Note Mudran Private Limited at Salboni in West Bengal and Mysore in Karnataka. These 2 presses are owned by RBI, and 2 presses at Devas and Nasik, very old presses. These are owned by the Government of India. This is the what we call as the SPMCIL, Security Printing and Minting Corporation of India Limited. Security Printing and Minting Corporation of India Limited. These 2 are owned by the Government of India, and they print notes at Devas and Nasik. Now, initially in the first slide, we were talking of what is a bank note vis-a-vis a currency note, why we are calling them bank notes and not currency notes. Now, currency notes are referred to as bank notes in the RBI Act 1934. Prior to this, these were known as currency notes, which were issued by the then Government of India before RBI was formed. So this distinguishes them. The Act brought in this word banknotes, technical word, only to distinguish them from the notes issued by the GOI, Government of India, prior to RBI's formation. Genuine notes are printed on a special paper, and the special paper, the technical word is substrate. So if you know this word substrate, if you're able to use it in your interview or while writing, it does give you a brownie point, because it is a technical word not used by the common man. And if you say, well, the paper or the substrate, I would be impressed to say, well, this guy knows what substrate is. So this substrate that we are using is cotton rag. But for a long time, RBI has been also toying with the idea of introducing on experimental basis a different substrate, which we call as the polymer substrate, or loosely called the plastic notes. This is the plastic notes. Don't confuse a plastic note with a credit card. That's also plastic currency, this is, right? But a polymer note would be a substrate which has full polymer or partially polymer, or a mix of cotton rag and polymer, whichever way the substrate is chosen. And it is A, difficult to counterfeit such notes, B, their longevity is higher, much higher, and they don't get dirty very easily because you cannot be scribbling on this note. It's a little slippery, so the habit of writing messages, telephone numbers, you can't do on a polymer note. And countries like Australia, 100% polymer, Canada has gone polymer, Britain has gone polymer. So many countries are experimenting or have introduced. RBI has been toying with the idea. And also the currency verification machines in the banks, which process notes, which verify notes, they run at a speed of 30 pieces per second. Please also remember that RBI handles currency in pieces form. We don't go by the value, so much value, no, so many pieces of notes. 10 rupees, so many pieces will be printed, so many, the value by the currency management is not concerned about the value per se. It is concerned about, when we say adequate supply is in terms of its pieces. So let us say by the end of this session, we have tried to understand, you would be knowing by now the role of RBI in currency management. If you know this much, what we have discussed in these slides, that should be good enough for you to sail through as far as currency management is concerned. You don't have to read anything more than this. So RBI's role, the government's role, the goals of RBI, the note features, the security features of the notes, what is money about, where are the printing presses, where are they located, what are their names, and some bit of trivia on about what Ashutosh, money versus money. Or diamonds. Diamonds is just a symbol. It's a money. It's a precious stone, diamond or a topaz. Anything could. It's just a symbol that I've used there. It has nothing to do with diamonds per se. What is meant by printing of currency? Printing of currency means getting notes printed. So you have the printing presses. This question is from Chaitanya Chauhan. So printing of currency means I am placing an indent for 10 million pieces of 10 rupee notes, for example. Now these notes, the indent is given by the RBI, order is placed, invoice is raised to the printing presses. X printing press will print these pieces for us, or X and Y will be doing the printing. And they have printing machines, huge machines. If you've been watching, guys, if you've been watching Money Heist, which is a very popular Netflix series going on these days, Money Heist is about, set, the background is a central bank of Spain. And there you can see, Ashutosh, you can see money printing, how printing is happening, large sheets of paper, and the notes are, then the notes come out, maybe on one sheet you will have 100 notes coming out, and then they'll be chopped into note forms, so they'll be cut. Everything is mechanical, not physical. So, difference between currency and circulation. Somebody is asking, Bahugana is asking, say, a difference between currency in circulation and notes in circulation. As I said, notes in circulation will be, they are different concepts actually, which is not really related to currency management. We'll cover this in the chapter on monetary policy, where we talk of money in circulation. There are M1, M2, M3. It's a different session altogether. Money lying with the public, money lying with the banks. So we'll talk about it later. It's a longer topic. And as for now, I think our time is over. And I do hope that you guys have enjoyed the session. I'm sorry we started a bit late, but there were some technical issues at my end only, which I was not able to fix. And so I had to request you all to wait for 15 minutes. Sorry for that. And do let us know in case you have any other queries on this issue. Yes, we do hope you join our package, and there'll be more sessions on RBI. Certainly, I'm very sure of that. We have various departments of RBI which we will be discussing there. Thank you so much, and goodbye. All the very best.